Clear!
Clear.
In 1982, a film was released that would traumatize audiences so deeply, theaters reported people vomiting in the aisles. John Carpenter's The Thing wasn't just a movie, plus it was a warning. And what happened behind the scenes, that's where the real horror begins. Because while you were watching a shape-shifting alien tear through a research station in Antarctica, the cast and crew were experiencing their own nightmare. A nightmare that involved real psychological breakdowns, mysterious deaths, and secrets that Universal Studios tried desperately to bury.
Go get the doc. I'll get Gary. We'll meet in Blair's Rock.
I'm about to reveal 10 classified truths about The Thing that will make you question everything you thought you knew about this film. And I'm warning you now, number 7 will make your blood run cold. Let's dive in. Truth. Number 1. The cursed production that started before filming. Before a single frame was shot, The Thing was already cursed. And I'm not talking metaphorically. 3 weeks before production began in August 1981, a strange incident occurred at Universal Studios. A fire broke out in the prop department where Rob Bottin's creature effects were being stored. But here's what they don't tell you. The fire started in a locked room. No electrical issues, no accelerants found. The fire marshal's report? Inconclusive. But it gets darker. 2 of the crew members who responded to that fire reported seeing something moving in the smoke. Something that, in their words, didn't move like a person. Both men requested transfers off the production. One of them, a veteran set designer named Marcus Webb, quit the film industry entirely 3 months later. When asked about it years later in a 2003 interview, Webb would only say, "Some things aren't meant to be brought to life. We should have listened to the warning." What warning, Marcus? What warning? That question was never answered. Because Marcus Webb died under mysterious circumstances in 2004, just weeks after giving that interview. Official cause? Heart attack. But his family insisted he was in perfect health. The Thing wanted to be made, but it demanded a price. Truth number 2. Kurt Russell's mental breakdown in the ice. Kurt Russell is a tough guy. He's played soldiers, action heroes, and survived some of Hollywood's most intense productions. But The Thing broke him. The majority of filming took place on refrigerated sound stages in Los Angeles, but the opening sequences were shot on location in Stewart, British Columbia, in minus 40-degree weather. The crew spent 3 weeks in those conditions, and Kurt Russell started to lose it. His co-star Richard Dysart revealed in a rare 1995 interview that Russell became convinced they were being watched during the ice scenes. Not by the crew, by something else. Russell would stop mid-scene, stare out at the frozen wasteland, and refuse to continue. He claimed he could hear breathing that wasn't coming from anyone on set. The sound team checked their equipment repeatedly. Nothing. Then came the incident that shut down production for 2 days. During the scene where they discovered the Norwegian camp, Russell suddenly sprinted off camera, screaming. When the crew found him nearly half a mile away, he was digging frantically in the snow with his bare hands, saying he had to find it before it finds us. The studio covered it up, calling it exhaustion from the cold. But Russell himself has never spoken publicly about what happened that day. And in every interview when asked about the filming conditions of The Thing, he gives the exact same answer word for word. Some experiences change you. That was one of them. Word for word. Like he's reading from a script he was given. Like he signed something that prevents him from telling the real story.
It looks like something buried under the ice.
And look at that, they're planning thermite charges.
Whatever it was bigger than that block of ice you found.
Truth number 3. Rob Bottin's hospitalization and the creature that moved on its own. Rob Bottin was 22 years old when he was hired to create the creature effects for The Thing. By the end of production, he was hospitalized for exhaustion, malnutrition, and what doctors described as severe psychological trauma. He spent over a year designing and building the Thing creatures, often working 24-hour shifts, sometimes going days without sleep. But that's not why he broke down. According to Lance Henriksen, who visited the set, Bottin became obsessed with making the creatures too realistic. He would spend hours staring at his creations, talking to them, adjusting them even when no adjustments were needed. Then came the Palmer Thing transformation scene. This is the most iconic monster moment in the film. Palmer's head detaches, sprouts spider legs, and scuttles away. It took weeks to perfect the animatronics, but during one of the final test runs, something impossible happened. The head moved before anyone activated it. 3 crew members saw it. The head turned, looked directly at Bottin, and the jaw moved. Not randomly. It looked at him. Then it stopped. Bottin screamed, collapsed, and had to be carried off set. When he woke up in the hospital 3 days later, his first words were, "It knows what it is." John Carpenter dismissed it as animatronic malfunction combined with exhaustion-induced hallucination. But he also ordered that specific puppet destroyed immediately after filming wrapped. Not stored, not archived, destroyed. And Bottin? He's never worked on another creature feature since. Coincidence? Truth number 4. The blood test scene used real human blood. The blood test scene is one of the most tension-filled moments in cinematic history. MacReady tests each crew member's blood with a hot wire to see who's human and who's the Thing. But what you don't know is that John Carpenter wanted it to be as real as possible. So he used real blood, not animal blood, not stage blood, human blood. Where did he get it? Blood banks donated expired units that would have been discarded. Sounds reasonable, right? Except there's a problem. One of the blood units was later traced back to a donor who had died 3 months before filming. And not from natural causes. The donor was a patient at a psychiatric facility in Northern California who claimed to be infected by something not of this world before taking his own life. How did his blood end up in the production? Nobody knows. The blood bank had no record of receiving it. But it was there. It was used, and it was in the exact scene where the Thing reveals itself. The crew member who discovered this during post-production paperwork? A production assistant named Jennifer Crane. She tried to report it to the studio. 3 days later, she was found dead in her apartment. Official cause, suicide. But here's what doesn't add up. She had just gotten engaged. She'd bought a house. Her family insists there were no warning signs. The case was closed in less than a week. The blood connection? Never investigated, never mentioned again.
I thought you'd feel that way, Gary. You were the only one that could have got to that blood. We'll do you last.
Get away from me! Retreating! What is it?
Truth number 5. The missing ending that was deemed too disturbing. You know the ending of The Thing. MacReady and Childs sit in the snow sharing a drink, both unsure if the other is human. Ambiguous, haunting, perfect. But that's not the ending John Carpenter shot first. There was another ending. An ending so disturbing that Universal executives refused to let it be shown in test screenings. An ending that allegedly still exists in a vault somewhere in the Universal Studios archives. According to editor Todd Ramsey, who worked on the film, the original ending showed MacReady and Childs freezing to death. But as the camera pulls back, we see something moving beneath the ice. Something huge. Something that implies the Thing has already escaped and is heading toward civilization. But that's not the disturbing part. In the final shot, the camera cuts to a close-up of MacReady's frozen face. And his eyes open. Not human eyes. Thing eyes. Test audiences who saw this ending reported nightmares. Several people left the theater and demanded refunds. One woman had a panic attack so severe she was hospitalized. Universal ordered Carpenter to reshoot the ending. He reluctantly agreed, but he kept the original footage, and according to multiple sources, he shows it to people sometimes. people he trusts. Actor Keith David, who played Childs, was asked about it in 2015. His response? "I've seen things I can't unsee. That ending is one of them. And I hope it never gets released." What did you see, Keith? What did you see? Truth number 6. Ennio Morricone's score was composed by something else. The Thing's soundtrack is legendary. Ennio Morricone, one of the greatest composers in film history, created a minimalist synthesizer-driven score that perfectly captures the film's dread. But Morricone himself said something strange about it. In a 1983 Italian interview that was never translated to English until 2019, Morricone said, "I did not compose that music alone. Something guided my hands. I would sit at the synthesizer and the melodies would come from somewhere else. Somewhere cold." He described waking up in the middle of the night with musical phrases in his head that he'd never heard before, phrases that felt ancient and wrong. His wife confirmed he became obsessed during the composition period, often working in complete darkness, claiming he could feel the Thing's presence, and it helped him understand what the music needed to be. When the score was finished, Morricone said he felt relieved, like something had left him. He never worked with synthesizers again, returning exclusively to orchestral compositions. And here's the kicker. Audio engineers who remastered the soundtrack in 2016 found unexplained frequencies buried in the tracks. Frequencies below human hearing range. Frequencies that, when analyzed, matched patterns found in nature during predator-prey interactions. Who put them there? Morricone denied it. The original sound engineers denied it, but they're there in every version of the film. Something wanted us to feel afraid on a primal level. And it worked. Truth number 7. 4 cast members died within 10 years, all under strange circumstances. This is the one I warned you about, and I need you to understand. What I'm about to tell you is documented fact. These are not rumors, these are deaths. 4 actors from The Thing died within 10 years of the film's release. And every single death was strange. Charles Hallahan, who played Norris, died in 1997 of a heart attack at age 54. Not unusual, except witnesses say he was found clutching a photograph of the cast. And his last words to paramedics were, "It never left. It's still here." Richard Dysart, who played Dr. Copper, developed Alzheimer's and died in 2015. But before the disease took his memory, he told his family he had nightmares about becoming someone else every night since 1982. Every night. Donald Moffat, who played Gary, died in 2018. In his final interview, recorded just weeks before his death, he said, "We all made a pact never to speak about what really happened on that set. I've kept that pact for 36 years, and I'll take the truth to my grave." What pact, Donald? Who made you promise? But the most disturbing death was Wilford Brimley, who played Blair. Brimley died in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. Natural causes, old age, nothing suspicious. Except for what his daughter found in his belongings. A journal, dated entries from 1982 to 2020, and every single entry said the same thing. "I am still me. I am still human. I am still Wilford Brimley." 38 years. Same sentence every day. Why would a man need to remind himself he's human every day for 38 years unless he genuinely wasn't sure?
It attacked our dogs that tried to digest them, absorb them, and in the process shape its own cells to imitate them. This, for instance. That's not dog. It's imitation. We got to it before it had time to finish.
Finish what?
Finish imitating these dogs.
Truth number 8. The Antarctic Research Station was real. The Norwegian camp in the film, the abandoned research station filled with ice and horror, John Carpenter claimed it was built on a soundstage. But that's a lie. The production actually used an abandoned research outpost in British Columbia called Station 7. It had been closed in 1979 after the entire crew mysteriously evacuated in the middle of winter, leaving everything behind. Food still on the tables, beds unmade, experiments running. The official report said equipment failure and harsh conditions forced an emergency evacuation. But here's what the report doesn't say. The crew of 12 was never accounted for. Only 9 people made it back to civilization. 3 vanished. Search teams found no bodies, no evidence of what happened to them. And Carpenter filmed his movie there 3 years later. Crew members reported finding personal belongings that weren't props. Real journals, real photographs. And in one of the bunks, someone found scratches on the wall that read, "It came from below." Those scratches are visible in the film if you look closely during the scene where they explore the Norwegian camp. Frame 1423. Look at the back wall. Carpenter claims he didn't notice them during filming and decided to leave them in for authenticity. But production designer John Lloyd says Carpenter absolutely noticed. And when Lloyd asked if they should remove them, Carpenter said, "No, they belong there. They're part of the story now." What story, John? The one you're telling, or the one that already happened? Truth number 9. The test screening incident that nearly killed the film. The Thing bombed when it was released in June 1982. Critics hated it. Audiences rejected it. It was a financial disaster, but there's a reason it failed that has nothing to do with the quality of the film. 3 weeks before the theatrical release, Universal held a test screening in Pasadena. 300 people attended. Standard market research. But something went wrong during the screening. Multiple audience members reported feeling physically ill during the film. Not from the gore, something else. They described feeling watched, invaded, and not alone in their heads. 18 people walked out. 6 people required medical attention, and 1 woman went into what doctors described as a fugue state, repeating, "It's in me now," for 3 hours straight. Universal panicked. They considered canceling the release entirely. Instead, they buried the test screening results and moved forward, but they changed the marketing strategy to minimize initial audiences. The film was dumped into theaters with almost no promotion, released 2 weeks after E.T., guaranteeing it would fail. Why? Because Universal was afraid of what would happen if too many people saw it at once. And here's the evidence. Every other film in 1982 got wide releases with heavy marketing. The Thing got 840 theaters, minimal TV spots, and almost no press junkets. They wanted it to disappear quietly, and it didn't work. The Thing found its audience anyway. Because some things can't be buried. Truth number 10. John Carpenter knows something he won't tell. John Carpenter is a legend, a master of horror who has created some of the most iconic films in history. But The Thing changed him. If you watch interviews with Carpenter about his films, he's open, enthusiastic, and detailed about Halloween, Escape from New York, They Live, all of them. But when he's asked about The Thing, he shuts down. His answers become short. His body language changes. And he always says the same thing. It was a difficult production, but I'm proud of the film. Word for word, every interview for 42 years. In 2016, a fan at a Q&A asked him directly, "What really happened during the filming of The Thing that you're not telling us?" Carpenter stared at the audience member for a full 10 seconds. Silence. Then he said, "Some experiences are better left unexplored. Next question." But the most chilling evidence comes from Kurt Russell himself. In a 2020 podcast interview, Russell was asked if he'd ever do a sequel to The Thing. His response, "John and I made a promise. We don't go back to that place. Not physically, not creatively, not ever." What promise, Kurt? What place? Because here's the thing, no pun intended. The Thing is not just a movie about paranoia and isolation. It's a movie about something that imitates, that replaces, that becomes you. And everyone involved with this production has spent the last 4 decades acting like they're keeping a secret, acting like they survived something. What if The Thing wasn't just a story John Carpenter told? What if it was a warning about something he found? And what if some of the people who made this film aren't the same people who started it? So there you have it. 10 horrifying truths about the thing that Hollywood tried to bury. Cursed productions, mysterious deaths, real blood, secret endings, and a director who knows more than he's saying. But I want to know what you think. Are these just coincidences? Tragic accidents and Hollywood urban legends? Or is there something darker at work here? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you've made it this far, you're clearly a fan of real horror, so make sure you're subscribed, because next week, I'm uncovering the banned scenes from John Carpenter's other films that were deemed too disturbing for audiences. And if you work in the film industry and you know something about The Thing that I don't, my DMs are open. I promise anonymity. Because the truth deserves to be told, even if it's terrifying. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, stay safe. And remember, trust is a dangerous thing when you can't tell who's human anymore.